Welcome back to Kylo's stretch videos. Today we'll be covering the topic of lordosis. So what is lordosis? Lordosis is an overly arched lower back. It can be referred to as an overly arched lower back, as lordosis, as an anterior pelvic tilt. All of these words all mean the same thing. And essentially what it means is you're rocking your hips back and you're having an over excessive curvature of your lower back. And so as you can imagine, that can cause a lot of lower back discomfort or pain. And so let's get into why this happens. So lordosis is a very common thing in today's society, and the reason being can be varied from your posture, from weak core muscles, to having like an overly stretched lower back. If you are experiencing any pregnancy, if you do have a little bit of overweight or obesity where the fat deposits are more around your midsection, that can shift your center of gravity forwards. So what that means is, as opposed to your body being stable and supported throughout, the center of gravity is forwards, shifted a little bit, which makes you end up tilting into this position. So how can we fix this? So we briefly touched on it. We mentioned strengthening your core muscles. These are the core muscles, very strong, stable muscles in your body that keep the rest of you supported. And we want to stretch the lower back because it's already being super tightened by the overarched position of your back. So let's get into it. So today we're going to review abdominal bracing. If you remember, we've discussed this prior in another video, superhero stretch and strengthen breaks, that we've already done. Feel free to go back and revisit if you want to. Today we're just going to review it. So in order to have a strong and stable core throughout all of our exercises, we want to make sure that we're bracing our core, and that is what abdominal bracing is. So if you can imagine someone punching you in the stomach, you really, really clench those muscles there. What that feeling feels like, that solid core, is what we want throughout all of your exercises and all of your activities. And this is what's going to prevent you from, lopsiding or falling. It's going to help you with your balance. It's going to help you with your posture. It's going to help you with walking and many different things down the line as well. So without further ado, take one deep breath in through your nose and one breath out through your mouth. Next time, as you breathe in through your nose, you're going to start to engage your core, feel those strong muscles, and breathe out while maintaining that solid core. If it helps, you can place your hands along your stomach and palpate. Feel if you're engaging your core or not. Another way that you can tell is if someone tried to push you over, you wouldn't be able to sway so easily. Maybe be gentle with your friends. So this next one that we're going to do is a pelvic tilt. So because we mentioned the way that lordosis tends to be is an arching of the lower back, this is also known as an anterior pelvic tilt. So the idea is we want to reverse that, and so we want to move into a posterior pelvic tilt. So maintaining your neutral posture, you're going to place your hands on your hips, and you should feel your hip muscle, your hip joint along the back and the front. In the front, you'll feel the bones along the front over here, your ASIF, and in the back, you might be able to get to the PSIS, maybe not. Okay? So once you have your hands here, these are going to be your anchor. And the way I like to teach this is your anchor is going to guide the motion moving forwards or back. So in the anterior pelvic tilt, you'll notice that your fingers are lower down than your thumb in this position. And in the posterior pelvic tilt, it's the opposite. The thumb is lower than the fingers. So give this a try. Take another deep breath in. And as you exhale, remember you want to brace your core. Squeeze as much as you can. And you're going to shift your pelvis forward into a posterior pelvic tilt. If you can, try to squeeze your glute muscles to activate those muscles as well, because we know that the core also includes the glute muscles. And try to do this one 10 times. Now it may feel like you're starting to hunch forwards, and if that's the case, remember to roll your shoulders back and only move your hips. Okay, so that covers the posterior pelvic tilt. The next few, we're going to go down on the mat and get those done. So see you in a second. All right, so we've covered abdominal bracing and a posterior pelvic tilt. The next one we're going to do is on this mat. We're going to do the cat camel position, but instead of doing cat and camel, we're only going to do cat. For those of you who are completely confused and have no idea what I'm saying, we'll go through it in a second. And for those of you who do have an idea and they've gone through this in physiotherapy, if you have the okay from your physiotherapist to do both directions, you may, because it will strengthen your core on both ends, including your front area, your sides, and along the back. But for those who do not have that extra healthcare professional guiding them on what they should be and should not be doing, if you're trying to just target your lower back to correct some of that pain due to lordosis, due to the overarched back, maybe just start with the cat for now until you get the okay to proceed into the camel as well. Okay? All right, without further ado, you're going to need a mat. You're going to start with your knees about shoulder width apart or along the hips line. Place both your hands in front of you and you're going to be in a quadrupled position. So like this. Okay? And so the cat position, you're going to imagine a scared and angry cat. You're going to raise your upper back and tuck in your pelvis at the same time. And then relax. So in this exercise, we are actually doing a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt. It's very minimal, and you may not notice it at first, but if you don't notice it, try to squeeze your glute muscles together, engage your core, and it should feel almost like you're doing a crunch position. The upper back is going as high up as we can get it, tilting the head down and tucking in your tail. Remember, inhale, and then exhale as you're going up. Brace your core, engage your glutes, and relax. And you want to do this one about 10 times as well. The camel pose is doing the opposite motion, but since we are doing this for lordosis, we're going to avoid doing that. This would be the camel pose, where you stick your bum out and your shoulders are up. Since we are trying to avoid an overly arched lower back, that would be contraindicated, so we're not going to do it. Okay, the next one that we're going to do is a side lying glute activation exercise. So we're going to go on our side, and you're just going to keep your bottom leg either straight or slightly bent. If you have some trouble with balance, make sure you bend the bottom leg. If you've done this quite a few times and you're a pro at exercise, you don't need any help, you can straighten your leg as well. All right, so you're going to keep yourself as straight as you possibly can. And if you like, you can try this with pillows underneath you as well. You're slowly going to raise this leg up, flex the toes up, and squeeze your glutes at the same time, just to about 45 degrees, and then relax. If you like, you can do this against a wall. Try to keep your leg, your hips, and your shoulders and your back along the wall in the same line. That way, you're keeping yourself as straight as you possibly can. So with this exercise, you want to keep in mind, you don't want to bring your foot too far forwards, and this can happen subconsciously without you realizing it. The reason for this is once you raise your leg, you're not fully activating the glute muscles along the back as well. So keeping your leg as far back as you can, but not too far in where you will start to overarch your back into a lordosis position, which is what we're trying to avoid. So keep your toes flexed, keep your leg as straight as you can, raise the leg up, squeeze the glutes, and then relax. You don't have to go high up. You can just go to a 45-degree angle. Okay? So that will cover the side lying glute activation exercise. And for the next exercise, we will be in a chair. Let's go through some lower back stretches to help alleviate some of the pain and pressure that's building up in the lower back. As we've already gone through our core strengthening exercises, great job for participating. Now it's time to treat yourself and allow yourself to feel some tension relief in the lower back. So we're going to start by sitting in a chair. You can place your feet shoulder width apart, place them together. I usually prefer shoulder width apart. And move towards the edge of the chair so that your back is not sitting right up against the backrest. Once you're in this position, you're going to slowly slide your hands down your knees all the way to the floor. And if you like, you can let your arms hang. And if you do this very slowly, you'll start to feel a little bit of a stretch in the lower back, opening up those tight muscles there. So give it another go. Slowly sliding your hands down, taking deep breaths as you go, and you should feel it around this point over here, just towards the end of the range. You can hold this pose for as long as you feel is necessary, until you feel the pain start to go away, or even longer for more temporarily permanent relief. All right. Of course, the more you do this exercise, the more you do these stretches, the better it will be for yourself in terms of preventing any lower back discomfort, as well as treating any discomfort that you may have. So, next one that you can do is a knee to chest exercise. So you can do this one in bed, you can do this one standing, you can do this one in a chair. So you can bring one leg up to your chest as high up as you can go, and this one will start to relieve the pressure on the right side of your lower back. Whichever leg you're raising, that's the side you should feel the stress more. And the reason that we do this one is some people are able to bring the leg up a little bit higher than if they were just to do the seated version. And they feel like they want to go as high up as they can. If you do it lying down, of course it would be similar to standing. And you want to raise your leg as high up as you can, grasp below the knee joint, never directly on top, and then raise fully up until the top. Take a couple deep breaths here, and then relax. And then you do the same thing on the other side. You can do one leg, you can do both legs. I would encourage you to start with one leg at a time. It may be more challenging if you have your arm over the leg, and if that's the case, if you feel any discomfort, feel free to bring your arms looped behind the leg and raise this way. This takes some of the pressure off of the knee. Okay, so the next pose that we're doing is child's pose. It's going back down into the mat, and we'll see you there in a second. So this third stretch that we're covering today for the lower back, if you are able to do this, if you do not have any knee issues, hip issues, you can try. For those of you who are going to physiotherapy for various issues, maybe avoid this one unless you've received some clearance from your physiotherapist. Okay? So you're going to start on your knees like so, and you're going to slowly slide your hands forward as far forward as you can into a child's pose. If you're into yoga, that's what it's called. And just breathe normally and then come back up. You can hold this pose for 30 seconds, a minute, however long you need to feel the lower back start to loosen and stretch. Okay? And that concludes the exercise video for today.